Welcome to the Art of Happiness After Loss Summit. I'm Lois McCullough and I'm your host for this exciting series of interviews where our aim is to give you all the inspiration, motivation and practical tools you need for healthy recovery after loss. I'm so delighted to welcome Rita Schiano to our summit today. Rita is the founder of Live a Flourishing Life, assisting people and businesses to develop and tap into the skills and attitudes necessary for them to overcome personal and professional barriers, build resilience, and live a better life. What tips would you like to share with us to help us live a life of energy, fulfillment, happiness, and joy?
You know, there's so little in life that's in our control. And recognizing that and realizing that we have to step back and take time to think things through, not just react from an emotional base. So when we can learn to just put our emotions a bit to the side, that's when clear thinking begins and the actions that we need to take become forefront in our minds. And so we use thinking as a way of managing our emotions, to be able to be very, very clear. It becomes important, and that starts with accepting, and that's acceptance, accepting what is not in our control, because we want answers sometimes when we've had loss. Why did this happen? Why am I going through this? And we may never know the why. We just have to accept that it has happened, it is, and we need to just move forward.
And I guess that's where the whole timing thing comes in, because in the early days of loss, you're totally not in control of your emotions, but then there comes a time when you can start thinking about the emotion, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we think about it with more clarity, because we're not
That's
just
right.
in that reactive mode, and that makes that big difference. We start to understand and accept what the loss is about. And I think that's what sometimes then moves us from those stages of grief to embracing the memories that are good, where we can think about someone and a smile comes to our face, when we can think about someone and that feeling of joy comes into us. You know what I mean? That feeling that comes like right from the center of our being. We feel that warmth. It's almost like we're bathed in the presence of the person. And that's the true joy of the memory. And when we get to that point, then we can move on. And sure, there'll be times, that we may cry, when certain events come about, whether it's holidays or anniversaries or birthdays. Sometimes that loss, even years later, can kind of sneak up and nip at us a bit. But when we know that that's all that is, and that we know we can actually feel that release, that happiness, that pure joy of having known what it is to have had this person in our life, to have had that love of that person. And even when someone walks out of our lives, you talked about that a few moments ago, what happens when somebody just walks out of our lives. Sometimes we get so caught up in the anger of it or the disappointment of it that we forget at one time there was a reason we came together in love and care and concern for each other. And to be able to come back to that and to say, that was real for me. Because sometimes that's what happens to us. We think if someone disappoints us and leaves us and walks out of our life, that what we had may not have been real. It was real in its moment.
Absolutely, it was, yeah. Very powerful stuff. Excellent. Now, Rita, I understand you've got something special you'd like to offer our listeners today.
I've included 2 free downloads. First one is a self-evaluation resiliency test. It helps people to recognize what are the skills and attitudes of resilience that they already have, and what maybe are the ones that aren't as strong but things that they can work on. And then the second download is what I call a Kaizen in Action worksheet. It's how to take small incremental steps to build that resiliency skill that you need. So let's say, for example, you're not good at asking. You're not a good communicator. So it takes you through some small steps on how to build that, how to work on that and develop that resiliency skill, which is so vital. And by recognizing what are the ones that you do have that are your strengths, then you use those as you're working on the ones. You let those skills and attitudes help you. So if let's say you're not good at managing your emotions, but you're a very flexible thinker. You can be a creative thinker and a critical thinker. You can then, through working it out in Kaizen steps in that other worksheet, use those skills to help you develop a better way to manage emotions, to move from a reactive phase to a responsive phase.
Oh, wow, brilliant. Yes, I'm going to go and do that. That sounds like fun, in fact. Oh, that's awesome. So Rita, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any take-home messages for us, or anything perhaps we haven't covered so far?
Well, I guess I'd like to leave people with this thought that, the only true way to happiness is to cease worrying about the things that are beyond the power of our will, things that are beyond our control. And when we can do that, when we can give that up and just allow it to come from within, to allow our wisdom, our internal wisdom, I believe we all have an internal GPS system that guides us when we listen to it. So often we hear it in our head and we say, nah. So remember that the only way to happiness is to cease worrying about the things that are beyond the power of our will, and to not be afraid to try something new, to just remember that joy is in us. It's not in the things, it's not in the circumstances, but it truly is within us. And I really believe that the way to live a life that flourishes is to have strong resiliency skills and to be willing to, as I like to say, live a flourishing life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess it all starts with ourselves, doesn't it?
It does.
The only people we have control over is ourselves.
I think we attract to us what we give out. If we live a life with a lot of reactive, negative emotion, that's what we attract in our lives. If we live from happiness, from joy, from being able to experience people for the good, and the good, and the not so good in them, we bring out the best. We bring out the best in others, and others bring out the best in us.
That's so true, and what a great way to wrap up. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Rita for all your valuable information, and thank you for your time today. It's been fabulous having you with us.
Thank you, Lois. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so very much, and thank you for doing this. What a tremendous gift you are giving people.
Thank you all for listening in to today's session of the Art of Happiness After Loss Summit. I'm Lois McCullough. Goodbye for now, and warmest wishes and love to you all.